start that over again, shall we?
Well, if you
Welcome to Dungeons and Demogorgons, the officially unofficial podcast for Stranger Things on Netflix. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And we just finished watching season 3. You know what? I'm not even going to say what episode we watched. We got to talk about Susie.
We got to talk about Susie.
Yeah, screw the intro.
First episode, I'm like, damn, we've got to talk about Susie. Second episode, I put it in my notes. I bolded it to talk about Susie. This time, we both put it up at the top of our notes. We didn't talk about Dustin's girlfriend, Susie. Jim.
Yeah.
Your analysis.
Here's my number one question. Is Susie real?
Well, I think you're the expert at fictitious girlfriends, so...
I am, and how to keep that ruse going for as long as possible.
What's the tell?
Well, I can't tell you what the tell is, but I can tell you that Dustin is not displaying any tells.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that Dustin found true love with a woman hotter than Phoebe Cates during his camp.
I actually do think he, fell in love with a bright, a good-looking girl.
Mm-hmm.
And because here's the thing. If you're taking this, I've got a girlfriend in another state, you wouldn't know her, to this extent, you're kind of an asshole. And I don't think Dustin is that kind of asshole.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's real. And that's going to be like probably relevant at the very last episode.
Yeah, it'll be this year's like flash forward,
like
to
the
ball.
homecoming dance or whatever.
Yeah.
There's always like a fall dance.
The
it's
snowball,
homecoming, right? Yeah, it'll be she'll have flown in for the occasion with her
right.
Mormon family. But there's also like the Mormon family's a nice touch. If you're going to carry it this far, because you can always blame like the fact that she ghosted her. It's like, well, her parents,
Yeah,
so,
didn't work out.
I'm not a Mormon. They're so restrictive,
There's a lot of stuff that I have a lot of experience with in this show, and restricted relationships is certainly one of them.
Yep.
Another is losing all your friends, which is what Will's going through here, under very different circumstances. But but I felt for him, man. In that scene, it's rough. All he wants to do is be a party.
Yeah,
and he can't.
And it's not just that; it's also like it's combination of your friends drifting apart and the fact that I think that this age, like going like 12 to 14, is hard for all kids.
Yeah.
Because that's where it's like, it's perfectly socially acceptable to, like in a span of 3 years, it goes from being socially acceptable to be in a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit to you got to be dating and wearing deodorant and shaving and getting into makeup and wearing heels. And it's like confusing. I remember it being like, I kind of still like to play with toys and Legos. And I would if my, buddies would come over, that shit would get in the closet. And Will seems like more than most because he missed out on a lot. He's been sidelined for a lot, and he's not ready to give it up. And it was really, really emotional seeing him tearing apart Castle Briars.
Yeah, I think experientially he's a little less mature than the rest of these kids because, like you said, sidelined for 2 seasons. I'm glad that they don't seem to be sidelining him this season. He's not the one turning into the zombie.
Right.
We get a little glimpse into his personality and who he is, like I was talking about last episode, in this one, and I really appreciate that.
They also, because we've been talking about how fast this season has been humming along, and I think this is a new record for like bringing all the various groups on the same page at the same time. Like, I don't know that Jonathan and Nancy are right there. They fight.
With the fertilizer lady.
Fertilizer lady. Yeah, they're there. Joyce and Hopper went back to explore Hawkins, found out that it's haunted by Russian mercenaries. So they know something. They don't know the full extent. Will and Mike and Lucas look like that they're set to kind of like start to pair off. And then, 11 and Max are on the Billy case. And then you've got Steve and Robin and Dustin doing the heavy lifting of surveilling the actual Russian intelligence operations going down here in Hawkins, Indiana.
Yeah, it's weird. So there's the surveillance they're doing, but also they link the Russian surveillance too of the lab. So like the Russians clearly have eyes on the lab. We see a shot of a camera that's looking at Joyce and Hopper. We see the Russians show up at some point. So
I'm surprised.
Why are they monitoring this area?
I don't know, and I'm
activity?
also shocked that they didn't. I want to know what the explanation for them not killing Hopper is, because it feels like he and Joyce should be dead. Because this is a serious fucking operation. They've got like fucking assault rifles and shit out.
No,
it
feels like I thought that blonde guy who turned out to be a yoga instructor guy, was going to be like a Jeremy Irons Die Hard type. Terrorist level.
Like Hans.
So they definitely like this is a no joke kind of thing. I don't know why he didn't die. Because they want Hopper around.
Maybe we should. I don't know how you wanted to talk about this. Because we talked about Susie and then we just went right into the episode. I appreciated that even in the episode where so many things are coming together, the way they haven't lost their touch of like lightheartedly bumping into these dark topics, like how Max and 11 got onto the Billy investigation, the investigation of the missing. It's like it reminded me of like I think a rite of passage for everyone until the invention of caller ID was pranking people.
Yeah.
Now there's ways to be like, you know, if you just made a couple of harmless phone calls on a Friday night with your buddies on a sleepover, that's fine. Like I never harassed people or got gross, but like, you know, doing this kind of harmless, as your refrigerator running kind of stuff. And Elle like psychically spying on people. Like Lucas and Mike's fart and belch off.
Oh man,
that was such a brilliant introduction for things to get really fucking real. Because like and it's also you as it was happening, I knew because of Max's prepping her like, hey, if he's alone with a girl, bail. And then the girl's screaming, but Max is like, I've heard my brother, and are you sure it's not happy screams? And I was actually surprised that they didn't push this mystery a little further into the next episode, but. Like many seasons before, this season is relentless.
Yeah, absolutely. And so all of those scenes together, like the boys and they're, belching and farting and the girls spying, the boys would spy if they had that power.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, that's the thing that connects me so strongly to Stranger Things, or at least one of the things, is the Duffer Brothers seem to understand exactly what it is like, still in their 40s or whatever the hell they are, to be a child. And they can kind of see everything through the eyes of a child, and yet at the same time they're twisting those things, right? They're bringing it into the adult playground with the horror elements, with taking these very innocent sort of childish things and turning them on their face, and I just love it.
Yeah, I like that because I feel like a lot of Hollywood getting young people wrong is when they try to write like aspirational. Like, oh, these are the kids from Mary Poppins. When they're naughty, they're still pretty well behaved, and they don't portray what childhood actually is. Because it's, I if you think back to being a child, you never thought of yourself as like, well, I'm just a kid. It's like you always thought you had a reasonable approach to things, and when you're like 14, I don't think there's certainly you're feeling that way. And they treat it with that seriously because it's somewhat smaller stakes usually. This has to do with interdimensional monsters and stuff, but like kids and adolescents and teenagers have really complex inner lives. I know I did, and I feel like that's what, instead of like, oh, I want to write dialogue the way I wish my son and daughter will act when I have them or whatever, they're just like, hey, this is how I thought as a kid, and this is what I would think if monsters invaded my neighborhood. Boom, and it's a gift.
It works. You know what didn't work for me?
What?
Hopper wearing shoes and no socks. I could not believe when he kicked off those shoes that there were no socks.
That was the Miami Vice thing, man. It's a little less though Magnum PI was a lot of no sock boat shoe kind of look too.
Oh, I know, but I feel like
you just want to see Hopper's feet when he kicked them off and they're front and center, and you're just staring into his soles.
Fair.
It shook you. You got shook.
It did.
You soul gaze with another man. That's what happens.
Yeah. So I don't know. That really bothered me for some reason.
We were speculating about Hopper wearing a fat suit or a fat pad.
Yeah.
My man Harbor is just beefed up. Like, I think because you can tell he's still got the
put on
Hellboy
some mass.
mass, like the big shoulders and muscles and stuff. He's just like gone on the American Hustle diet, just ate 30 donuts a day or whatever. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe he's like, because that's the thing. Like, I've ever gotten Chris Pratt shape, and I know everyone's capable of it, right? Chris Pratt's been able to maintain that. If I got in that, I feel like I'd give it a year before I'd get pudged, because I just don't think I could naturally maintain that kind of physique. Maybe Dave Harbour's the same way.
I mean, it's definitely not natural. It's artificial. You know,
he's like, look,
it's just working out.
I worked out 6 days a week for 6 months to be Hellboy. Now I'm eating some fucking donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? I would.
Yeah, it's funny because like now it's even funnier because I feel like they gave him an out to come back ripped and shredded, and he rolled in. He's like, nah, boys, I was hitting the cases of beers and the cases of donuts. So
it might be like a Rain of Fire thing where like he came in, you know, expecting one thing, or he came in thinking, oh well, they'll expect me to get fat again, so I'm just gonna do it, and then they didn't. It does feel like this season, to me, so far, well, we talked about the theme of change, and I think they're doing a lot of good stuff with that, but like a couple of things I noticed on that front, like this season is all about blowing up relationships. Like you've blown up the kids' relationships, obviously.
Yeah, they're like as fractured as they've ever been.
Yeah, it almost seems like and you've blown up like Hopper and Elle's relationship. There's a lot of just like sort of disrupting things and seeing where that leads.
There's a lot of friction, and now we know why the friction with Joyce and Hopper is because she's had a secret that she hasn't told them.
That's the other thing. Yeah, this is really coming into focus, the theme of change. Like, I don't know who this Gary guy is, but apparently like real estate agent maybe, helping her fix up her house so she can sell it.
Right.
Meaning she'll probably be moving out of Hawkins, and what is that going to do to Will? You know, he's already feeling bad even when his friends are kind of around.
Now he's going to move to
a
weird kid moving to a new school. That sounds like a healthy dynamic.
Not exactly.
He's been traumatized. I thought that was one of the high points of a strong episode is Joyce and Hopper, because I see Hopper, you knew how to have a heart to heart all along.
I know, and that's the thing that felt so off about it in the beginning is Hopper knows how to do this shit.
Yeah,
they didn't want him to just kind of fall into that in the beginning or something.
I do think it's different with your kid.
A little bit,
it's hard because you get gripped up wanting them to be okay and not be hurt, and not, you know, especially someone that's already been hurt so much as Elle. I imagine it's even more. You feel more strongly protective. But I love that line where he, you know, as he's done so many times, takes it back to him losing his daughter and how painful that was and how he thought that he needed to go but then he says, you know, I understand why you want to move, but you have things that, you know, I didn't have. You have people who know you and know what you've been through and went through them with you, and they're right here in Hawkins.
Yeah,
I thought that was a pretty good, and I guess I'm ready to see them, because remember when the influences was like Romancing the Stone? Like, I guess I'm kind of in for a slightly horrific, cute, romantic mystery investigation with these two. I kind of hope they keep these groups like they are until like 2 or 3 episodes left to go.
Yeah.
So I guess the next 2 or 3 episodes, because I'm enjoying the dynamic of like Robin and Steve and Dustin. And the transfer of power that's gone on between Dustin and Steve.
It's all now. I was going to say it's all with Robin now, actually.
Oh, well, yeah. Because she single-handedly solved the puzzle, which I want to talk about in a minute. I'm really enjoy like having Joyce and Hopper kind of be on their own and not have to have the kids, like, you know, scamper around their ankles would be fun. I like the group of the 3 boys. I like Max and 11 being off on their own. I kind of hope they keep it this way a little bit. Now everyone's working on the same kind of like threads of the plot, but I'd want them to meet in the middle a couple, because I'm really enjoying these pairings.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of glad they didn't drag out the Silver Cats and the Blue and Yellow meet in the West. It's funny because you figured it out in real time.
With the hands, because this was a theory going around before the season, because one of the shots in the mall trailer that they did was a shot of that clock, and everybody's like, "Oh, blue and yellow hands." So I didn't really figure.
So
it out.
you were primed for it.
I was surprised that they went that direction though. I thought it was going to be more about Elle and Mike, but they and the Silver Cat seems to be that Lynx, which. The logo looks astonishingly like Thundercats
Yeah,
logo.
they grayscaled the Thundercats logo.
Yeah. And then you got the blue and yellow, the clock hands, the West being what was West? Where
West
were they
was
meeting?
just on like if you
the
think
west
of,
wing of the
no, if you
mall?
think of the clock as a compass, West is 9.
Oh yeah. So it's like
they met at 8:45 or 8:42. Yeah.
Makes sense.
But whatever time that the hands actually meet, that's what they did. It's one of those things where it's like I was talking about last episode. You have to kind of be willing to go along in these like Nancy Drew kind of just so mysteries with this show. That's the price of admission. But I'm like, don't drag it out, because you just what you're really trying to do.
Yeah, they didn't. That's
is
great.
have the kids follow breadcrumbs until they come into the meat of the mystery. Now, I have no idea why like Steve and Robin and Dustin just wouldn't call the police. The second that you have like armed Russian spies that have like this, to their knowledge, this doesn't have anything to do with like the Demogorgon stuff or anything like that. I've got the same question I got to Billy. It's like, maybe they have a jumped up sense of accomplishment because of all the stuff they've gone through. Maybe that's the answer.
It could be, yeah.
But I want somebody to be like, we should call the cops. Robin, if nobody else, because Robin is the everyman, the every woman.
Robin is like Max from last season.
Yeah, Robin's like, what the fuck are you guys? Is this what, like she needs to be the one that, and maybe Steve and Dustin can have like, that's not what we do here because blah.
You got to get Mr. Clark back, though, right? You got to bring Mr. Clark into the fold this time.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense because he's already been a huge topic here.
Yeah.
Like, they're making jokes about, you're going with Mr. Clark now, huh?
Right.
And that was a really good joke from Joyce, even though it didn't quite land the way she wanted it to. But yeah, bring Mr. Clark in.
Yeah.
I would love to see Dustin and Mr. Clark and Joyce all go on a mission together.
It's just so weird because like there's a unwritten rule in the show that only Joyce and Hopper of adults can know what's going on. Mike's parents,
unless you're gonna kill him, like Bob.
Lucas's
Bob had to
parents,
go because he knew too much.
Yeah. Unless you're Dustin, unless you're Hopper and Joyce, you just are not allowed to know about the mysteries of Hawkins, which is fine. I mean, that's it. But I do think it's going to get harder and harder with this particular big plot to try to contain it. And I mean, that's probably an interesting challenge for the Duffers is like, how do you have something that's going to, because if you look at that Dark Army and you look at their recruiting efforts, like you got the old woman, obviously they're going to try to get the mom and dad of Heather. They are assembling the Shadow Army, and like how do you keep the lid on this when like 200 Hawking citizens are going to be embroiled in this before everything's said and done, it seems like.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And, the allegory with the mall and all that stuff makes sense. And we're probably going to get a zombie mall-esque scene at some point.
Yeah, you can already tell that they're setting it up.
Yeah.
I loved another little touch I love is when Jonathan and Nancy were investigating the old lady and they hear that kind of snarl and gurgle and they just both instantly reach for the nearest hammer.
Yeah. Like
good. The stuff like that is just, I love it so much.
Yeah.
Steve, when Dustin was saying, "Hey, you've got the perfect girl in front of you, it's Robin," and Steve's like, she's not my type. Like we were both like, "Oh yeah, you're going to be together by the end of the season." And then this freaking episode, they're holding hands. Like the second they get scared, they start holding hands. Like
right. And I think like this is he doth protest too much. Like this is Steve's type, I think. Like Nancy, it was kind of hidden under like some sense of propriety that Nancy had or something, but she is a tenacious woman.
Yep.
And so is Robin.
Bright, very intelligent.
Very intelligent. You can see that so many traits are shared between Robin and Nancy. And Steve's just wrong. Steve has a type, and it's that type.
Right. Maybe he's not used to having a woman bust his balls as much as Robin does, and maybe she's not as used to an 18-year-old guy hanging around with so many 13 and 14-year-olds. But I mean, Steve hangs with Dustin, and Dustin busts his balls. So like, like he clearly enjoys that dynamic. Yeah, but like when you're not expecting it from Steve's not expecting it from a girl.
Yeah. He's probably not. He's blind to it, but that's his type.
But yeah, like it's like maybe it's not in the same physical package as you're used to, but this is your type, dude, and you've already figured it out before you even knew it. I thought that was pretty cool. And then like I wondered because Hopper's always done above average in fights. Like, he's kind of been the bruiser of this show and the physical force, and how this Russian dude just fucking handled him.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be pissing blood for a month, all the kidney shots this guy was taking.
Brutal.
Like I actually thought, like, holy shit, is he going to beat Hopper to death? Like, this isn't the last season, I don't think. I think we got one more, so it's like that would be some grim news to find out. But yeah, what condition is Hopper? I don't know how realistically, because I feel like you take a beating like that, you're going to be out of commission for a week. You should probably go to the hospital, but I have a feeling it's just going to be Hopper.
I mean, this would be great. Here's your opportunity. You sideline Hopper in the hospital for 4 days. He comes back during the carnival or whatever the hell the mayor show is going to be.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Clark and Joyce and you can see that, like, he would be sort of seething and raging, right? Like, how true is it? Like, is she actually joking? And he's sitting here in a hospital bed recovering, completely impotent to go out there and fight. Like,
oh man,
I would love to see that.
It
sounds like a great dynamic.
I don't want to see, what's the name of the relationship? The Joy arc, the Cloyce.
Oh, it's all bad.
No, I don't want to get cloistered up. I don't want to get cloistered up. I'm saying no to this pairing.
Go maybe with Bark. I'm going last names. Bark.
Yeah, what would that be?
Clyers?
No, I don't know. Yeah, because Jim and Joyce works better. It's Joyce.
It sure is.
It's already built in. What else do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Mike.
Okay.
Because Mike is, I think, creating a false dichotomy between having a girlfriend and playing D&D. I do not think those things are mutually exclusive.
So many men make this mistake, that when you have a girlfriend, that all the other things have to go by the wayside.
Yeah, that's just not true.
Yeah.
You can include girlfriends. You can have your own interests if you want. Like, there's so many ways to navigate those relationship waters between friends and lovers. They're not lovers yet, I don't think.
Yeah, it's like it's. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's just Mike infuriates me sometimes.
Yeah, it's also because, like, I feel like the ones that infuriate me the most are the ones, or when I see them making the same mistakes I made as a young man. And you make a few along the way. But I think it's. So you got the standard kind of like two young people in love just want to suck face all the time.
Sure.
But also Elle was in a pretty peculiar position that, like, she's not allowed to go out and be, so, like,
they had to hang out in the cabin.
Yeah, and I can see that, like, if you have, like, this sheltered girl who's not allowed out, and she seemed pretty insistent, like, you're going to be here at 9:30 tomorrow. Like that's he's her world. It's kind of an unhealthy dynamic on top of the traditional unhealthy dynamic of young people in love. So
and there was already a slightly unhealthy dynamic between Hopper and Elle.
Sure.
Like, she had been betrayed by him,
right?
His lies, and so when Mike starts lying to her, I can see why that blows up.
Yeah, and this is going bad places because Elle, and good for her for not having a nuanced position on lying to your friends and loved ones, but we know that's been a big bugaboo. Like, those are things that have been real big challenges for her and now she's got it going on with Mike. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I wonder if Mike and Elle are actually destined to be together. I mean, I don't think any of these kids paired up are destined to be together, but I just wonder if they're going to, because that's one of the things in television shows, when you got this will they, won't they, and then they will, the show kind of like runs out of steam. Like, I feel like these kids can't form, like, what 13-year-old stays in like a 3-year relationship?
Yeah.
So even in the terms of the show, like, I feel like they need to find a way to have these kids kind of like become friends that will stay together as relationships come in and out of each other's lives. And I think some of this stuff of having these bumps along the way of the romance is maybe going to take the sting out of that a little bit, because what do you want them to get married?
Right. The series isn't going to even go on that long.
Right. The lab created child meets the 12-year-old and then they're happily ever after. Like, that's a
story as old as time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Disney's going to do the live action remake of Lab Girl in 2020. One thing I want to talk about is there was a little bit of crackling energy between Will and Mike when Mike was talking about, it's not my fault that you're not into girls.
Okay.
I wonder if I wonder if they're implying that, you know, Will is either gay or maybe asexual or something, or maybe he's just a late bloomer.
Right. That's kind of where I thought they were going. Is that Will's like less mature? I said experientially he's not as mature. Maybe physically he's not as mature. The hormones haven't started kicking in.
Right.
That kind of thing.
There's just something too, to like a really wounded look, like you know, that is something about, like, you know, Mike got too real or something that I thought was interesting. I wonder if they would explore that, because it would be fair.
What was he like at the dance at the snowball last year?
I don't remember. Was he even at the dance?
I thought he danced with someone.
He might have.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And I'm not saying like, oh, that's the indication that he's really into girls.
Right.
But I was wondering if he was just sort of sitting on the sidelines. But I don't think so.
Many gay dudes have some girlfriends on their way to discovering who they are, or like as is explored in like BoJack Horseman, the character Todd finds out he's asexual. That's why it never works out with women. He's like, am I gay? No, I just don't really care for sex. So.
It could even be as simple as Will likes girls, but he's unable to talk to them, unable to feel his way through those waters,
and prefers.
He just doesn't know how to make that happen, and so he's kind of angry that like, oh, I should just fucking get a girlfriend. Easy for you to say, Mike. You met one in the fucking woods.
Yeah.
Am I gonna go do that? Look at Castle Buyers.
Yeah. Well, there's where the weird science comes in. They're going to
make one for him.
It's like, I want a lab girl too.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see where because I just think all these kids' relationships are fascinating, and what I really like about it too is like they show kind of realistic fights and stuff, but they're never like super vicious, or they never like the way the adults fight is different from the way the kids fight, and it's just really nuanced. But I'm really digging it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I loved when Will stormed out of that basement. Like that felt so real.
Yeah, and like I said, him tearing down Castle Briars was a genuine moment. What else do we want to talk about?
That's all I got.
All right, let's do the
actually, you know what? Let's talk about some of the pop culture stuff.
Outro aborted!
We aborted the intro. We're aborting the outro. There were a couple of references that I caught. First of all, right up front, there was a Ralph Macchio Karate Kid reference, which was really nice. I bet he is not a good kisser. If I just look at Ralph Macchio, I'm assuming. There was also one of the biggest bands on the planet at this point, Wham, with starring George Michael.
Sure.
They played Wake Me Up Before You Go. Right. Nobody knows who that is. But yeah, Wake Me Up Before You Go was in there. I think that's the only like song that really stood out to me in this episode. But those were some nice references.
Yeah. Okay. Let me run the outro now. If you'd like to send us feedback, you can do so at strangerthings@baldmove.com. Of course, we're going to save all this feedback up until next week or a week after next. Stranger Things 3 wrap-up podcast. There's also 3 threads in our forums.baldmove.com to discuss the triplet of episodes that we've covered today, and then there'll be the triplet we're covering Monday, and then the final 2 on Tuesday, so you can also get your feedback in there. And also feel free to create other threads if you want to discuss a particular point. Make sure you flag it from spoilers. And then this is it for our binge today. We'll be back Monday for the next 3 episodes, and then again, as I said, Tuesday we'll be wrapping up our coverage until the actual wrap-up podcast. Sheesh, I confused even myself. Thanks for spending your holiday with us. I cannot wait to continue watching and talking about Stranger Things, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.